Alpha Hill emergency. This is not a drill. A few hours ago, the world broke. The ground shook with an unnatural force as something tore through the sky, crashing into the earth with a deafening roar. We thought it was a meteor. The data told us it was a meteor, but the data didn't account for the darkness that followed. It wasn't a meteor. It wasn't even close. When the first team of scientists approached the crash site, the air was thick with something else. A presence. Heavy, suffocating. The usual sounds of the world, birds, wind, the distant hum of traffic, were gone. In their place was a deafening silence, like the earth itself had held its breath. And then came the radio transmission.
This isn't what we thought. The voice was shaky, almost a whisper, but we could hear the panic in the scientist's tone. It's not just a rock. The signal cut off with a crackle, then returned with static-filled screams. Run! Get...
The transmission cut out, leaving only a faint, crackling buzz behind, along with an eerie sound, almost like a song, though it was hard to tell. We sent another team. They didn't last long. What they reported, before their radios went silent, was beyond comprehension. There was something standing in the center of the crater. A figure, towering. A shadow that seemed to bleed into the very air around it, blocking out any light. At first, we thought it was just the wreckage. But then it moved. A titan, a giant, cloaked in darkness, with gears and weapons that hummed with a cold, unsettling energy. But it wasn't the weapons or the size that paralyzed them. It was his eyes. The eyes were red, blood red, not the dull, reflective red of a predator's gaze, but something worse, something deeper. They burned, as if they were trying to consume the world around them. Every flicker of the blood-red light felt like a blade cutting through the very air, a pulse that twisted your stomach and made your heart race in pure, unadulterated fear. But it didn't stop there. That was just the beginning. Around his neck hung something so grotesque, so unnatural, that the moment they saw it, they knew. A toilet bowl. Not just any toilet bowl, but one that seemed fused to his skin, as if it had become part of him. The porcelain was cracked, stained with something dark and thick, a faint shadow moving inside it. It watched. It waited. It felt alive. It was not just an accessory. It was an extension of the Titan himself. The very presence of it seemed to make the air grow heavier, colder. The thing around his neck was alive, and worse, it knew we were watching. The radio went silent again. We couldn't get a single word out of the team. What followed was the worst of it. The static came back, but this time, it was different. It wasn't just the usual crackle of broken signals. It was distorted. A warped voice, low and guttural, filled the airwaves. It wasn't human. It was something else. It's coming. It's watching. The words weren't clear, but the meaning was undeniable. The Titan, with his glowing red eyes and the cursed toilet bowl around his neck, was aware of us. He was coming, and we weren't ready. The ground trembled beneath us. It wasn't the impact from the crash, it was him. His footsteps, each one a thunderous drumbeat that shook the earth itself. The city fell into chaos as alarms blared, people screamed, and the world went into panic. But no one was prepared for what came next. The sky above us began to shift. The clouds swirled and cracked open, revealing an unnatural blackness. The wind turned, no longer carrying the scent of rain or earth, but a sickening, rotten stench. It was like decay, like death itself had arrived. And then, we saw it. His silhouette, looming in the distance. Every step he took left the ground cracked and broken, like the earth itself was suffering under the weight of his presence. The air seemed to bend around him, like gravity itself was trying to reject him, but couldn't. The thing with the toilet bowl around his neck was coming, and there was no escape. The battle now.
the last message we received before the transmission cut off completely. No more orders. No more guidance. Just silence. The world had ended, and we were left with nothing but the knowledge that we had invited this horror into our world. The Titan was here. And we were just the prey.